In process. Progress. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our super fun Zoom tonight, where you're going to be doing an exercise alongside, and if you're watching this back, you can just do it with the recording. So tonight's Zoom is all about getting back on track, or even just getting on track. I feel like everyone, no matter where you're at in your journey, can benefit from something like this. Even myself, it's just a really great way. We're going to go through some exercises to figure out what, if anything has to change and how to change it. So I'm just going to share my screen. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to give you guys a link just in case you want to go through the presentation like on your side or even on your own later. So I'll give you like a public view link just to have, just because I put my examples on it. So you might want to look at it later. And I'm putting it in the chat now because Lord knows I don't know how to find the chat once I share my screen sometimes. Oh, I love that. Pen and paper girl. She's a pen and paper girly because she has a phone from 96. It's from 2016, Erin. It looks like this. Look at this thing. It is brutal. Storage full, storage full, storage full. Like, get over it. I'm sending my other phone back today. So in a couple of weeks, this girl will be back on social media full blown. Okay, just going to share the screen. Here we go. You
David,
can
don't we have
do
a phone around that's from this century for her to use?
Did you? I had to buy it when I was so it happened in Florida, and I was like, I have Apple Care, so I know I'll get a new phone when I'm home, but I need one like right now. So I just drove to Target and they were like, we only sell refurbished phones. And I was like, whatever, give me the cheapest one. I paid $2.99 USD for this piece of crap. Anyways, fine.
I was going to send you the link for the little thing you can put on the bottom to add extra storage.
Ooh, please do. That would be nice because I tried to take a picture of ice cream I made today to add to my new Ninja Creamy highlights, and it never saved because the storage was full. So now I have to recreate it tomorrow. Okay. Back on track, literally getting on track. So how to find out where to start and what to do. So get your pen and paper ready or your notepad. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to start a column that's called, you can call it on track, or if you wanted it super descriptive for yourself, it's kind of like things that look like on track to me. So basically, and I'm going to go through the next slide, but it's kind of like as you sit here and you're like, I want to get back on track. This column is like, what does that mean to you? What does being on track mean to you? Because it's not the same for everyone. Okay. So just like I said, what does being on track mean to you? So you can also share some stuff in the chat if you feel like sharing your answers, write it down on paper. I'm going to give you guys like just a minute or so to kind of start a list. I like point forms. So like for me, example, being on track, one of the things for me is like, okay, I get my water in every day and it's, 2.5 liters. That's one of the things on my list. So as I sit here and say, what will make me feel better? What will make me feel like I'm, on the path to health and fitness? How would that look for me? What needs to happen for me to feel good? That's what you're going to put in this column. As I drink my water. And if anybody wants to share in the chat, feel free. Share. I'll just put some of mine in the chat. So these are some of the things on my list. Another 20 seconds and then we'll go to the next column. Yes, Lori. Because we were just doing this in photo shoot prep and we know it makes us feel good.
100%.
That's why. All right, so your next column that you're going to make, so underneath this one is non-helpful habits. So reflect on things that you're doing right now, currently, that are not helpful. You know you might want to drop them or you want to amend them and be better at them. This is what you will put in this column. I'll write some of mine. What's the other ones?
Find a pen.
Find a pen or
Oh,
use your phone.
I'm sorry, I thought it was muted.
No, you got anything else you want to share?
I had such trouble getting on tonight. I don't know why the link wouldn't come in for me, so
Oh,
I'm gonna mute myself.
all right.
Okay.
So one of my things that are not helpful to being on track is that I drink Friday nights and Saturday nights and sometimes Sunday nights. And I don't mean that I like get drunk. I just have a drink or two, you know, and I don't need to do that. It's not helpful. That's one of them. What was my other one? I guess I'll see on my list. Anybody want to share any non-helpfuls in the chat that they're currently doing? Finishing my kids' snacks when they're full is very not helpful. That is very true. I do that as well. I'm like, I don't need to do that. I'm stuffed. Bad snack choices, or even just, oh, that was on my list. Skipping lunch and having numerous snacks instead. That is not helpful. Chips around the campfire. Yep. Going hungry for too long, then eating everything because I'm starving. Yep, that is not helpful. That's right, Shelley. Missing meals, not helpful. These are all really good. And you might like add to these later as you think of more stuff or you see other people. And then yeah, stop doing, right, share in the chat. We just did that. Okay, so this part gets a little bit confusing, so bear with me and then I will have some examples to walk you through how to do this portion of the exercise. We're going to take everything in these lists and rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being not ready, not willing, or not able, and 10 being ready, willing, and able at the most. Okay. And each thing you're going to rate for, I don't know how to say this without confusing you. I might just have to show you the thing, but 1 to 10 for ready, 1 to 10 for willing, 1 to 10 for able for the one item. So each item is going to have 3 ratings because this is not a group thing. This is how ready are you? How willing are you? And how able are you to do it? So 3 different things. So we're going to do it for both. So I'm going to show you the example if your brain hurts. This is how my list looks. Okay. So this is my on track list. So the first column listed out a couple things. And then I rated each of them how ready, willing, and able I am to do this, to start doing this, to be on track. Okay. So out of 10, 10 being the best mark, of course. And I was pretty like ready for this, willing and able. So give yourselves, even if you're doing it on a notepad, just know that it goes in this order: ready, willing, able. You could put like R, 10 out of 10, W, 10, whatever for each thing. So go through beside your list and rate them. Does anybody have any questions about this portion of the exercise that isn't clear? Leaving water bottle at home, that is not helpful. I agree. Then you'll have to buy plastic water bottle. Okay, so I feel like that was maybe enough time. Everybody's good. Now you're going to go through on your non-helpful habits list and think of it this way. How ready, willing, and able are you to stop these things? So remember, these are the things that are not helpful to your life right now. How for each category are you to be able to stop doing these? My weekend drinking, I'm only 8 out of 10 ready. I'm like, I'm willing and I'm able, but I'm only 8 out of 10 ready. This one might take a little bit more thought because you really want to make sure you're separating each thing. Any questions on this one?
You just need to be like me and develop an intolerance to alcohol.
I know. God damn.
But it's not
It
fun.
feels so good. It's so funny because it's really like my one thing. But I mean, I don't do it through the week. It's almost like, okay, it's the weekend. But we're actually doing we're going dry now until July, so I'll be cutting this anyways. All right, moving on. So I want you to read this. If you scored anything less than 9 out of 10, this next part applies to you. Okay. So if we're not ready, willing, and able, 90% plus for each thing, it's not going to stick and it's not going to change. So if you have any 8 out of 10, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, that has to change. Your list has to be amended because it's literally not doable for you. Okay. So we're not going to change any of the ones on the unhelpful things because they just are what they are. But I'm going to show you guys how we tweak our on track stuff to make sure that we can get 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10s. Okay. So this is just super important. Has to be 9 out of 10 for all of them. Anybody score? What's the lowest that people scored themselves? You can put in the chat. Like, are there any 1 out of 10s on here? Oh,
Put a 6 for one of mine.
you had a 6, yeah. 7 and a 6, yeah. It's not too bad. All right. So now we get into the nitty gritty. So this is from the non-helpful list of mine. Okay. So this is just an example. So both lists, they both have to have 9 out of 10. So let's just everybody go to their non-helpful habits list first and find the ones that are lower. You're going to circle the ones that need to change because they're below the threshold. That's the first thing that you're going to do. You can do it as well in your on track ones. So go into your on track list as well and circle anything that's under 9 out of 10 or highlight it if you're using like a computer or whatever. Underline it. Whatever has it stick out to you. And I amended these so that they'd be under, you know what I mean, for myself. But okay, so we're not actually going to change the item. We're just going to adjust it. We need to figure out what has to change for it to get to 9 out of 10 and above. So we're really going to break it down. So one of my habits was like, I'm doing weekend drinking and it was a 7 out of 10. I wasn't like ready to change it. So you need to ask yourself like, okay, what part of it would make me ready to change? And you need to think about and reframe it to something else. So instead of weekend drinking, I was not ready to change, but I am ready to change to maybe just 1 night a week of drinking because once I reframed it, I was able to give myself a higher mark. Does that make sense? So, even if let's say let's say my workouts, they were 4 workouts a week and I gave myself an 8 for able to do it. Well, I need it to be a 9 or a 10. What's going to have me get my workouts in with 9 or 10 out of 10 certainty? Maybe it needs to change to 3 workouts a week. Okay, 3 workouts a week I can do 10 out of 10. So that's kind of like your mind frame that's going to happen here is you need to think, what can I change about this to increase these numbers? And if anybody needs help and wants to share, feel free or message me after if you're stuck, but I'll give you some time to kind of think about that. And as you're thinking, I wrote this. I know it sounds funny, but you're now going to add, if this was from your non-helpful habits, you're now going to add that once you have a 10 out of 10 to your on track list, because technically being on track for me is changing this to be better. So even though it sounds silly, I think I wrote my new list. 1 times a week alcohol, because now I am ready, willing, and able in my on track list. So I even added to the list because you're not necessarily going to have the opposite things. You're not necessarily going to have an on track 2.5 liters of water and a non-helpful, not enough water. They're not always going to be different. So you might be adding stuff that's not helpful to this list to make it helpful. And that's why it's so different for everyone. And that's why you don't want to live in this all or nothing approach, because for you to be successful and get back on track, it might look like this instead of no alcohol. So that's really important, which is why you just kind of have to work through it a little bit. Does anybody need help kind of like amending anything or have any questions about their numbers? Is this hurting anybody's brain?
It did in the beginning when I was trying to figure out how you were going to cheat by drinking every weeknight.
I know I changed. I'm not actually gonna happen every I'm dry this, but if I was doing this a month ago, I would have changed it to this.
No, I
I'm only
misread it.
doing
I
Oh, you
misread it.
did.
Yeah, what I misread was, sorry, I'm dealing with a migraine. So I
Ugh.
read that you were like drinking one time a night, basically.
Oh,
One
oh,
drink a
yeah,
night. That would allow you to get through the weekend by only having one drink a night. And I was
no.
thinking,
Right?
I think I might have to have a conversation with her afterwards about the drinking problem because it's a little more severe than she thinks it is.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I've had to have that conversation with clients where they're like, "No, I'm not an alcoholic," and I'm like, "Okay,
You're not ready to admit you are.
yeah." I'm like, "Not in my scope. Maybe talk to this person about it." So you'll want to change it and add it to your list. So there it is on my list and my new list. So you'll be updating your list because the goal is to have all of your on track stuff as 9 or 10 or above. So now let's go. I made like kind of changed this so that I could show you guys an example of what it looks like in changing it a little bit differently. So one of my non-helpful habits was skipping lunch, for having numerous snacks instead. I'm ready, I'm willing, but my able was like 6 out of 10. So I felt like I was ready to do it. I was willing to do it, but am I actually able to do it? So you have to figure out too, why is that? So if you have lower numbers, even in things like able, it's like, why do I not feel like I'm able to do this if I'm so ready and willing to? That's really important. So I just kind of wrote down here out loud thinking, sometimes I'm in meetings, I can't get a meal in. So I just snack instead before and after it. And some people will sit there and think like that's literally the limiting thing and why they can't do it. So you need to lay it all out there and figure out why your numbers are what they are, because there's a reason why you rated yourself a certain way. And we need to figure it out so that we can amend it and add to the on track column so that you're ready for when these things come up. So figure out why your number is low. You can write it down, think about it, because you might have a really good reason. I'll just give you guys a second.
Danielle, I'll share
Yeah,
my thing if it's a good time. I don't know.
please. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
along with not being able to find pens in my house, I have a really hard time. I on with my nighttime routine and
Okay.
sticking to something and having my phone with me and bed, and I know it's not healthy or good for
Yeah.
me, but I can't even decide if I'm not ready to, if I'm not willing to, or if I'm not able to.
Yeah, and it could be all of them. I'm not ready, I'm not willing, and I'm not able. Um, Okay, so let's tackle the able first. Is there a reason why you must have your phone in bed with you use it in bed with you before bed?
No, like I don't have a health condition that I need it to track my life, or I don't, I'm not, I, I think it's a habit, but also it's kind of like my only time of the day that
Mhm.
I can have like
Me
quiet
time.
time to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. Okay. And so how does like your nighttime routine look before the phone? Like how long does it take and what are the steps until the phone essentially?
Well, I think it just kind of depends. I have my two kids, and so I like some I don't I was talking actually about this today with Darlene. Like I have I do my things I need to do. Like I prep my lunch and I have my gym clothes and my water and everything to go for in the morning, and I, double check everything that you do at nighttime before you go to bed, right? Make sure the doors are locked and the kids are in bed and they have everything that they need. And depending
Mhm.
on the day, like I'll throw another load of laundry in, or like sometimes I'll be kind of doing housework close to
Yeah.
bed, and I'll take like my magnesium and all those things I need to do.
Yeah.
I guess I just feel like I tried to do some different things, like maybe not go to my bed as early and like do like give myself permission to kind of be on my phone like in the living room or in the kitchen, like
Mhm.
those sorts of things. That
Mhm.
hasn't been successful for me. um
Mhm. Why?
I yeah, I don't think it's impossible. I just think like if I look at your list and think about myself, that's
Mhm.
probably one of the biggest
Yeah.
um things that is affecting my ability to
Yeah.
be like better.
So when you tried to do your phone like in the living room or whatever instead of in the bed, like what made it not successful? Was it just not happening or like what part flopped essentially?
It's just not as comfortable. It's not as um, like you're in your cone
Hmm.
of a life. Um, I don't feel as settled, I guess. And then also if I like, yeah, my other problem would be if I woke up in the night, I
Hmm.
would be like on my phone, like looking at something or
Yeah.
reading something on my phone. So, yeah, I was just kind of thinking if I wondered if I gave myself that this kind of thing would be like I'd give myself permission maybe to use my phone until really
Mhm.
late, like maybe even till like midnight, and then make a choice to remove it from the room for the rest of the night. So even though that to me doesn't seem like still not great for me because my day starts at like 5 o'clock ish. So,
Ooh,
but still, it would be better than like what I'm doing now.
how late do
Um,
you use it right now?
well, not like all the time. It just depends. Like sometimes it just might depend on if there's something I'm interested in that's going on. I'll be like scrolling. Um, or if I like, well, last the dog threw up at like 4 in the morning, and so
Hmm.
I was up at 4, and then it just took like I'm not
You were
getting right
awake.
back to sleep,
Yeah.
right? And or
Yeah.
I'm like listening. I'm kind of a little bit like hyper aware anyway, and I don't want and to be truthful, like when I was first starting in January, this is a lot. Sorry guys.
No, it's okay. I love it. Share.
I'm thinking like
There's
yeah, like when I started in January, I was quite consistent for
Mhm.
a few weeks of not having my phone in there. So it must be willing because I was able to do it then.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like my own willingness maybe to make that change. I feel like it's like my one thing. Like if I'm not eating, I'm not drinking, I'm like working. I feel like it's like
Yeah.
my one thing I'll allow. It's almost kind of like I'm stubborn or mad or ticked that I would have
Yeah,
to
you don't want to
give
give
up
up another thing.
another thing.
I don't think you have to give it up. I think you just have to amend it to like what can make you be willing to adhere to some guidelines around it. So whether it be the midnight thing or the 11:30 p.m. thing, how willing are you to try that versus just not going to bed with it, right? So
Yeah,
almost like just changing it so that you get that 9 or 10 out of 10.
I would probably even be willing to try even from 10 o'clock. I just feel like I'm constantly failing at that. So it's probably I'm a little bit afraid. Like, well, you had said to me, oh, you're not afraid to fail, you're afraid to succeed. Maybe because then that means really that I give it up.
Mm-hmm.
That's anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it, like anything, it's a routine and you just need some guidelines for your routine. Like every night you scroll on your phone and that's okay, but this is how it looks instead of if there's interesting stuff and you keep going and going, that's no longer your routine because some nights it's going to be longer and you're going to be tired. So you need to kind of be willing to set some new guidelines around it, which it sounds like you are. So I would kind of figure out what time you can stop using it by, and you don't need to remove it. I don't think remove it from the room and stuff. I think if you wake up and need it, that's fine. I think you start here. You start with like the before bed thing and amending it so that you get that 9 or 10 out of 10 for what time you're done using it.
You might want to set an alarm on your phone. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give
That goes
myself
off every
half,
night.
and then, yeah.
Sorry, if
And-
you're using an iPhone, the technology guy jumping back in here. If you're using an iPhone, Shannon,
Yes.
okay. So there's tools inside of the iPhone. If you go into your focus settings, you can use the focus settings to give you a prompter to get ready for bed. And then it will also, as part of that routine, I would say, because I agree with Danielle and Michelle, like you don't need to remove the phone from your room. You need to amend the activities that you're using on the phone to start to quiet your mind down to go to sleep. But removing it is actually nonsense. That's a
Yeah.
that's
It'd be
a
really hard.
well, yeah, and
And
it's also
just,
like trying to say, I'm not going to eat bad food ever, right? Because it's
yeah,
bad, right. Like the phone in your room is not the thing that's bad. The thing that the fact that you're um I guess manifesting that negativity towards it is probably the thing I would concentrate on. Try to find something that's more quieting, like if you can listen to music as the last thing, like quieting music or an audiobook or something that's going to kind of quiet your mind down instead of I know what we call it doom scrolling, which I also hate that term as well, but
Yeah.
try to find a more quiet activity that will just get you into the mood of getting ready to go to sleep. You'll also find if you're waking up, that activity that you establish will more quickly get you back to sleep if you wake
yeah,
up in the night.
it's
Mm.
signals. And you will sleep better like when you get less time on the scroll and you set, some boundaries and parameters. Like think about raising kids and like when you tell them no and you actually mean it and you stick to it, it's like it doesn't matter what they say. You're like, no means no. That's what it has to kind of be like when that alarm goes off, whether you do an alarm or, I've been there actually, big time. And to the point where I was like, okay, no phone use in my bed. So I was sitting on my bathroom floor on TikTok because I was like, no, if I use it in the bed, I'm breaking the rules. So I would sit and I would be like, Danielle, like get up and go to bed. And I stuck to it and now I read before bed and stuff and I sleep awesome. But I have like stuck to similar rules and you can bend them a little bit, but have that kind of like strict. So maybe go 5 more minutes over if something really interests you. So have a second, set, oh, well, this is interesting. I'm setting a timer right now for 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes and I'm done. Like just one little extra rule for just in case. That would be my suggestion.
And I think you gotta
Oh,
treat.
I'm holding off. I'm gonna sell those on like a kids group around Halloween.
I just needed.
I think
I-
Shannon, I think you have to treat sleep like it's the luxury me item as well.
Mhm.
And right now
Well,
you're
good
treating
luck.
it like it's the luxury
Yeah.
me item.
Yeah.
That can be hard though. I get it. Cause like when you have
Yeah.
kids at you and stuff, you're like, well, I want to be awake without kids too.
Yeah, I
And
totally get
I
it.
mean, and like my kids are older, like 12 and 14. I should be able to like do life. I just find that I'm looking for like a few minutes of like not into a schedule, I think. And so
Mhm.
and I think that's the thing that I allow for myself because I'm home. It doesn't cost anything. Like those
Mhm.
kind of things that I think about. But I'm in here and the sleep. I've never actually used any of the focus settings
Yeah.
at all on my
It's
phone.
fun because
It's
it'll
just
like
through
remind
it.
you. It'll be like,
Yeah.
wind down. So that could be
Yeah.
some place to start, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, don't even think of it like I know it's hard to kind of be like, oh, like this is the only thing that doesn't cost anything, but it's costing you your sleep, that's for sure, which costs
Definitely.
you your productivity, which costs you your energy. Like, so it does kind of catapult, but I'm totally like, I'm telling you, I went through a phase where I was like, no, I need joy. I need to watch hilarious TikToks before bed. And it put me in such a great mood. But it was getting so out of control. I just had to figure out a way to cap it less, but I never took it away, you know?
Yeah, and
Um,
and I'm pretty positive it is that section where are you willing? Like
yeah.
because in the summertime where I'm a teacher and and we go to the cottage and there's no signal there really and I'm not on my phone in the middle of the night and all
Right.
through the weird hours. So I know that it's something in me that's feeling like I want to allow myself it, but I think you're right. There's activities that I can do that will still help
Yeah.
me to wind down and go to sleep that are better than what I'm doing now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'll check on you and see how you're doing, but
Thank
yeah,
you.
just start small.
Yeah. Thank you,
Lost,
everybody.
yeah, if you get lost in the focus like settings, just feel free, reach out to me. I'll walk you through them all.
Oh, thank
David's
you.
the David's
You
the
don't know what you're
techie.
offering.
Yes, I do.
That's awesome. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Okay, and then so you'll just be adding to your on track list what you can do that tackles the problem. So like for example, using Shannon, let's say she comes with like amending her sleep thing, scrolling on phone to like won't scroll on phone past 10 p.m. We'll set an alarm for 5 more minutes if I feel I need it. And then that goes on to her on track list because for Shannon to be on track, that's how it's going to look for her now. Okay. So kind of take and pull over when you amend stuff because you want to have this list of things that you 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 fill these out, but also it feels really good to do those things on your list. You know what I mean? Like imagine you did a daily checklist like that and you got to check each one of those things off every day. You would feel amazing. And this is a custom list that you built for yourself around your life personally, and no one's looks the same. So I just kind of wrote like the having 2 to 3 pre-made easy AF meals that are just like eating a snack. So like a wrap that's already ready. So literally all I do is take bites because before I was taking bites anyways when I was snacking. Overnight oats, a snack plate. Maybe I like the snacky stuff. So finding foods that are kind of similar. So if I'm doing a snack plate, then I make sure I have my proteins, fats, and carbs. So just kind of having that ready for those moments that might be off track. And so here's kind of like my final and new list. This is how it will kind of look when you're done pulling and amending and putting stuff over. So you should see all 10s or 9s across the board. So now you just have to do it. You created a formula, you have a list of how being on track looks for you, and it's custom. You know what you want. And what's the alternative? You know, like these are things that you've personally listed on your list as this makes you feel on track. So if you're not going to do it, what's the alternative for you, right? You made that list for a reason. I had a client call the other day, and the client was kind of just like, I just need tips to get back on track. And like, which happens a lot. People want tips. And so we built a list kind of like this. And it's like, I can't do any more for you. We've built the list. We've decided that it's doable. At this point, you have to just do it. Okay. So, you know, that's kind of the next step once you have that list. And so I kind of run with what's the alternative. If you don't change, time's still going to go. Time's going to pass, and you're still not going to be where you want to be. And then what? Then what's your plan? You're just going to still be frustrated that you never did the changes that you lined up for yourself to do. And then eventually you'll just do them. But now time has passed, nothing has changed. So it's kind of like that little piece of like tough love on yourself that's like, you know, that what is the alternative to not just doing it? And there's likely not much of an alternative. You're just still going to be pissed and annoyed that you're not on track and looking for ways to be on track when you have a literal list that you just built on how to be on track. So that's kind of like my little tough love for you there. Any questions? Any comments? Anything you want to share? You're like, she's mean. I don't want to talk to her.
Before.
Big group.
No, it's all doing.
Not me just muting people as they like chat. What were you gonna say, David?
No, actually, I all I said was, wow, big group, because when you
Mm,
sharing, I didn't see how big the group was.
yeah, it's a good little crowd, and hopefully people watch after too. I feel like this was a good one. I have a timer on my watch. Yeah, love the timer. Now I'm a reading fiend. So like at first it was like, oh, I'll read 10 pages before bed instead of phone. And then the books got so good. One night I stayed up till 1 a.m. Like if you know me, you know that doesn't happen, not even on New Year's Eve. So then I had to put rules around my book reading and be like, this is when you stop reading, which for me is 10:15. I go to bed at like 9:30.
You just saying that makes me like I do that in the summer. So instead of being on my phone, I just read the whole book and then go to bed at 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it must just be a thing. I feel like I should have that time at night. I'm gonna try the focus settings on my phone.
Try it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, try it. And like, you know, we just pivot like as things change and books become, if that becomes less of your thing, then you're back to the phones and you just pivot and rock with a timer on the phone or the setting on the phone. Erin, like, I'm so excited that you are reading that series so I can send you memes every day when you're done. That was one of Guitar Michelle knows.
Throne of
Oh,
Glass.
man. Yeah, I know. I'm reading Crescent City right now. It's not too bad.
Book
It,
6 of Throne of Glass.
oh, good for you. I'm gonna stop the recording. One sec. I'm reading Crescent City because I just still wanted some